since I've used this. So thank you so much. Oh, thank you for standing. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. I would have preferred to begin the concert with straight into music, but we got a lot going on tonight. So what I wanted to say is that we've got an alum who composed a piece for us, Sean Klink, and his friend Jaron Park. We'll premiere that later in the program. We've got a student soloist, but also right up front at the beginning, we've got Dr. Travis Higa with us from the University of Southern Mississippi. Interesting story about him is that Southern Miss is where I got my doctorate degree, and we actually started there. He started as a band director there at the same time I started as a doctoral candidate. So it's just been really, really nice seeing him go through the process of getting into his first job after doctoral studies, and then I began that process here, and it's just been really nice to see him here and be working with the students. So you'll be seeing him in just a second, and then we'll have a wonderful program for you. But before that, we'll tune. So after we tune, if you'll please give a grand warm welcome for Dr. Travis Higa. Thanks. I hope the brashness and attitude that Odysseus has on his return journey home came through in that piece. I mean, wow, what a piece. And again, a big thank you for Travis being here to conduct that. The next piece is going to be a little different. This piece is called Ashimo, and you'll notice all the letters are capitalized because it stands for some long acronym name thing that Honda came up with, but it's also a pun. But all that to say is Asimo is that robot. And so Asimo has been in development for many, many years from Honda. I like to think of it as sort of the first actual C-3PO that started to exist. And they've been developing him at Honda for a very long time, but he's kind of fallen by the wayside. You know, now we have larger, scarier things like AI taking over and taking away all art and creativity away from us. And Asimo is kind of sort of, not really defunct, but just not really thought of much anymore. And that's right, that robot up there has played soccer and done sort of a weird walk. And actually, just this year, he conducted one of the United States orchestras. And so after that, Roger Zare, who is an American Asian composer, wrote this quirky little piece that's sort of supposed to represent Asimo. So I hope you enjoy Asimo by Roger Zare. This next piece, I won't say too many words. I've been known to talk quite a bit at these concerts. This next piece is written by Kevin Krumenauer, who I'm very happy and fortunate to call a dear friend. He studied music composition for a very long time with David Neslenka, which, if you've been to any of our concerts before, you might know we've done a couple pieces by David Neslenka, Illumination last year, and then we ended our season last year with a performance of his Give Us This Day, which was a very powerful experience for both me and I think most of the students. They seem to remember it pretty fondly. David passed away not too long after his wife passed a few years ago, and his music has always spoken very deeply to me and also to all of his composition students. Many of them wrote tribute pieces following his passing, and so this piece is written for a younger band, but it is still really good music, important for our future music educators to know. The Water is Wide is an old tune that some of you might know. It's actually what David used to sing to his children as a lullaby. So here is Kevin Krumenauer's The Water is Wide. So this next piece is dedicated to where we find ourselves now. October by Eric Whitacre. Whitacre might be a name if you're familiar with the choral world. He has had a tremendous successful career writing music for choirs all throughout, but not as many people know that Eric Whitacre actually has some very, very fine pieces for band and wind ensemble, especially this one, which is a little older, October. You've got a wonderful program note. I don't need to talk through it, just, you know, I think I walked out today and we're all sensing all of these weather changes that affect us all very differently. But I walked out this morning fearing like how busy we all find ourselves that I was going to be tired, and I walked out to be greeted to a very fresh, crisp day where I can see all of the leaves are changing, and it makes me remember all sorts of things in my life. And so I hope that this piece is that for you. So here's October by Eric Whitacre. enjoyed that piece so much. I hope you found it to be whatever you needed it to be. Up next, I think we have a wonderful, really, really special treat. It's not often that we get to showcase one of our students in this way, and it's something that I hope you look forward to in the future. Last year, Caitlin McCullough sang a piece with us. She was a senior that's now found great success working in Orion, graduated, and so this next student is playing in the wind ensemble this semester, is a senior. I know it's not the end of the year, but she is studying abroad in the spring, so we're very fortunate to have her here with us in the fall. When I first met Larissa, I didn't really know what to expect. She can be kind of quiet and not want to be the center of attention, which is exactly what you need to be as a concerto soloist. So this next piece I know is a big stretch for her, but she's had some fabulous teachers and been a very important member of the wind ensemble since before I got here, but especially now. So this next piece, oh yeah, let's go ahead and switch it over. There we go, cool. So there's Larissa Pothoven, who will be the soloist, featured soloist with the wind ensemble in this next piece by Cecile Chaminade. It's just a wonderful piece that might make you think of all your favorite composers of the 1800s, but the piece was actually written quite a bit later after that, and it's got all of this wonderful sort of French school influence and whatnot. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. I wanted to take this moment to say a tremendous thank you and shout out to the administrators and faculty and staff, and especially the students who had made this week has been extremely busy for us, and they've helped me make it all happen with a guest conductor here, guest composer, guest bagpiper. We had an honor band just the other day. We had over 80 high school students here visiting campus, working with Dr. Higa, who you saw earlier. So it's just been a tremendous week for us. So please, if you'll give a hand to all those folks, especially the students. And so please, if you'll welcome our soloist, Larissa Pothoven, to the stage. So we're going to take a quick tuning note, and then we'll present Cecile Chaminade's wonderful concertino for flute, and in this version, wind ensemble. Following that, we will have a brief intermission, about 5-ish minutes, so please feel free to do what you need to, and you'll be in for a real treat in the second half of the program. So here is, after a tuning note, Larissa Pothoven with the Chaminade Concertino.
coming. I know all the students are really excited to put this program on, and we're excited to see people in the audience, so I appreciate that. My name is Eli Kelly. I'm a senior music education major, and I'm the president of the Wind Ensemble Exec Board.
My name is Riley Lash. I'm a junior music education major, and I'm the president of the chorale.
So if you were here at the homecoming concert, you're going to talk a little bit, and to that I say, welcome back, you're coming. But if you weren't there, then let me tell you. The Wind Ensemble and chorale combined this next semester are going on an international trip to Greece. This is a great educational opportunity for all the students to go overseas and play and perform, and just overall camaraderie and things like that. But it is also very expensive. So both the chorale and Wind Ensemble are putting on certain events and holding donations and selling things to help lower that cost for each individual student. So some things on the Wind Ensemble side, you see out there, I guess you can't see currently because there's a wall away, but there's a table out in the foyer where we are selling CDs of our spring concert last year. So lots of great tunes on that, and a great program, very meaningful for all of the students. I think a lot of you parents and family and friends as well. Other than that, we are selling raffle tickets, not only today, but also the next 2 football games for a chance to be a guest conductor on our chamber concert November 19th. We've all seen Dr. Swearinger and how he goes like this a lot. It's a lot of fun. So to get the chance to be able to do that without having to go through years and years of schooling is definitely worth $10 in my book. So $10 for CDs, $10 for raffle tickets. And that's it for Wind Ensemble right now. We'll pass it to Riley to talk about chorale.
Hi. So chorale is selling poinsettias this semester. These will be used as decoration for our Christmas at Monmouth concert on December 2nd, and then can be taken with you afterwards. They're $12 a piece. If you would like to order one, please contact any of the chorale members, or if you contact a Wind Ensemble member, they can point you in the right direction. Chorale is also having a trivia night on November 10th at 7:30 in the CSB, and this is open to everyone. It costs $5 per person to participate, and teams can be 5 to 6 people.
Thank you. Again, thank you for showing up. There's a donation box out there as well if you don't want to raffle ticket or a CD, but you want to support us in some way. The Wind Ensemble has a chamber concert November 19th at 5 p.m. Just got that down. As well as Christmas at Monmouth, which is the whole entire music department. That's December 2nd. So thank you very much for coming. Up next, we have an awesome opportunity for all of us students, a alumni composer. We are premiering the piece, so please, everyone, welcome Sean.
Thanks everyone for being here, and everyone who is joining us online. I very much appreciate it. I'd love to talk a little bit about this process and how this project came to be. Justin, as many of you know, last year began teaching here at Monmouth, and last year I just begun my doctoral program at the University of Maryland. And he emails me out of the blue, asking me to write something for this band. And he wanted it as soon as possible. He wanted it in the spring, and I was like, I don't have time to do that, just starting out in my doctoral program. So we decided to push it back to this fall, and give me a lot more time to digest and work on this project. So I have some notes. Goodness. So after after our first discussion on this, I knew that I had to incorporate bagpipes in some way. And so first, my initial idea was to have some sort of band piece accompanied by bagpipes, and that soon became kind of an impossible task. I don't know if you know very much about bagpipes, but they're very confusing. So I decided to keep it simple, and I wanted to include one of my friends and one of the members of the fraternity that I was in during my time here at Monmouth, Jaron Park. He is a decorated and excellent bagpiper. So I really wanted to include him in this project because we both started at Monmouth at the same time, both were in CBT, we're in the same fraternity, and we both lived on the same floor of the fraternity house. And I have many fond memories of him pulling out his pipes at about 1 a.m. to serenade the rest of us. So, the main piece, the piece for band on White and Crimson, is, I'm sure many of you have figured out, takes its name from a flame of white and crimson, the college's alma mater. But when I was thinking about this piece, I was remembering this story I heard as a freshman, and I think many of the students who went here heard this story. That there is some sort of underground river that's flowing beneath the campus that sort of shaped the hills and influenced where many of the buildings were placed. And so I got thinking about that. And I connected it to this strange quote by Philip Glass, a composer who I'm quite fond of, and whose music I discovered while here at Columbia. And the quote is about music being this underground river. You don't know where it's going, you don't know where it's coming from, but it's shaping the music, it's shaping what you're doing. So I thought that connection was really, really beautiful, and I wanted to work with that. You'll hear some sort of strange sounds throughout this piece. Many of the brass players, can you hold them up? Many of the brass players have a couple of stones. And and they're smooth, so when you grind them together, they produce a very gentle tone, right? So they're smooth like stones you may find in a riverbed. You'll also notice our pianist will be standing up at the side of the piano. There are some fishing, there's some fishing line hooked around the strings. So she will be bowing the piano towards the latter half of the piece. So I really just want to thank Jaren for driving all the way here from Chicago. I want to thank Justin for the commission and for all of his hard work organizing all of this. And then obviously I need to thank the band for putting in such hard work on this kind of difficult piece of music. All right, without further ado, I'd like to welcome Jaren Hart to the stage.
What a treat to have an alum come back and write a piece for us, and such an exceptional, phenomenal bagpiper that I invite to come back to the stage at the end of the concert. We've just got one more for you. It's entitled Gandalf. It's from Johann de Meij's Symphony No. 1, which is all about the Lord of the Rings, but it's not the Lord of the Rings you're probably expecting. The Howard Shore soundtrack that we all know from the early 2000s Lord of the Rings movies, well, this piece was written years and years before that. If you know, there was an old like Hobbit animated film. I don't know if any of you have seen that. I love that film. But so this next piece is not exactly what you're expecting, but you will very much hear the influence of Gandalf the Grey and the White Wizard. And in the books, he has a horse, Shadowfax. And so this movement, which is the most oft performed from de Meij's symphony, this first movement, Gandalf, features some very dark, brooding, tall, much taller than me, wizardly figures. And then it picks up the pace, and we kind of transition to Gandalf's horse, Shadowfax. So I hope you enjoy our final selection, Gandalf. Thank you all so much for attending. I hope you'll have a pleasant evening, safe travels home, and we'll see you at the next step. Thank you so much.